Dear brothers and sisters, first of all I'd like to thank you for letting me speak here, and I would like to share what I know. We are here to protest against the power of multinationals, and I will try to explain to you what is happening worldwide. Multinationals are responsible for tax evasion. Through tax havens like our capital city Amsterdam, they hardly pay taxes. In average, they pay 1.5 till 2%, all for the benefit of the shareholders, who get richer and richer, and therefore enlarging the difference in wealth. Well, the average tax percentage for me is example around 35%. Multinationals pay only 2%. On YouTube, there is a documentary available called The Free Tax Tour from an organization called the VPRO. There is an English subtitled version of it, and I advise you to go and watch this. One of the tax havens is Amsterdam, where a staggering amount of $8 billion is switched daily from foreign bank accounts to the Netherlands, because their head office is legally based in Amsterdam. There is hardly anybody there, but that is the way they avoid paying taxes. Even a band called the Rolling Stones are using this principle, as well as U2. Multinationals are furthermore responsible for the following things: pollution, corruption, disregarding human rights, destruction, murder, genocide, suicide, injustice, conflict of interests, poverty, deforestation, climate change and CO2 emissions. And I'm afraid a lot more. Pollution, for example. Take the oil companies. Shell can be held responsible for the pollution of the Niger Delta in Nigeria. Heavily polluted by oil, the water is dead. What used to be a fishing place and place to live for local people has turned into a dead wasteland. Watch the destruction of forests in Canada, where tar sand is processed into oil. Vast forests are cut down and turned into a wasteland too. Let's not forget the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico in 2006, the largest marine oil spill in the history of mankind. An estimated 4.9 billion barrels of oil flowed into the ocean. And this is just a short list of all the accidents and spillings worldwide. Corruption is sometimes hard to prove, but the smell of it reaches my nose too often. I know they bribe politicians for their interests, because every multinational's goal is making money. But I always wonder, how does $100 billion taste on your sandwich? In other words, you cannot eat money. The best example of disregarding human rights is probably Bangladesh, where last year in April a whole clothing factory collapsed. The total disregard of safety led to the deaths of 1,129 people, and more than 2,000 were injured. The clothing factory supplied the West with clothing, and we are happy walking in a t-shirt of them. The agriculture this all is the cotton industry. Too often Monsanto turns up in this story, a vast multinational selling farmers their GMO seeds, then spraying their crops with Roundup, causing pollution and death. The effective ingredient of Roundup is glyphosate, scientifically proven to cause cancer, Parkinson and Alzheimer. By the way, did you know that 68% of all Europeans have glyphosate in their blood or urine? Probably causes by the fact that we feed our livestock with polluted GMO soy. And this GMO soy is mostly grown in Argentina, where a forest the size of Germany was cut down to feed our Western livestock. Residues of the pesticide Roundup end up this way in our blood. And do not forget that the global agriculture is based on fossil fuels, worldwide responsible for up to 42% of our CO2 emissions. Although some people deny climate change, I would like to express that CO2 is also absorbed by the oceans. Now this story frightens me particularly, because once CO2 is absorbed, it turns into acid. Now the oceans are already saturated for 66%. Once it reaches 100%, we'll be facing an acid soup where nothing can live. So, as you can understand, is that in fact it is a complex web where all previous problems mentioned come together. Therefore, I would like to name you a lot of multinationals in this web. So we have big oil, Shell, Mobil, Exxon, Gazprom, BP and Texaco. We have Big Pharma, Pfizer, Roche, Sanofi, GlaxoSmithKline, Bayer, Eli Lilly, Johnson & Johnson. We have big agrochemicals like Monsanto, DuPont, Bayer, Syngenta. We got big tech, Samsung, Philips, Sony, Apple, IBM, General Electric and Microsoft. Big food, Unilever, Nestle, Kraft, Procter & Gamble. We have big mining, De Beers, BHP Billiton, Alcoa, Vail and Rio Tinto. And last but not least, big banks, HSBC, BNP Paribas, JP Morgan Chase & Co., Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Bank of Scotland and Deutsche Bank. And this is just a short list of all multinationals. But all these mentioned companies have dirty hands in one way or another. Now the biggest question I ask myself, what in the world can one person do to reduce their interests? Buy local food on farmer markets, buy organic, recycle products, buy second-hand, grow your own food partly or totally if you can with organic seeds. Reduce your consumption, eat less or no meat, so eat more veggie or vegan. Avoid products with sugar, avoid sodas like Coca-Cola, Fanta, etc. Use public transport, buy a bike and start cycling. And if you have any other ideas, please tell me, I love to learn. And last but not least, I'll give you a saying which I have tattooed on my arm. Through our eyes, all forms of life are equally important. To us, we are simply one part woven into the grand creation. The wind is our breath, the sun our eyes, the ocean waves our heartbeat, and the rivers and streams our veins. Through our eyes, we are no greater than the wolf, the butterfly, or even the pine tree. All creation is connected to us, and we to it. We are one! Yes, we are one!